Hi guys, Dogre here with a new video. In this video, I'm going to talk about Classic Plus and how I would shape Classic Plus to be the thing I would like to have. Now, obviously, my Classic Plus is not yours, but maybe the ideas I will bring up will make you ring a bell like, oh, that's actually a good idea. And I want to talk more about Classic Plus because, again, I think the more we talk about Classic Plus, the more likely it is able to bring alive on the Blizzard servers. Now, if you want to have Classic Plus right now, the only way to have it is by playing private servers, which I will do on Project Epoch or Ambershire, maybe depends on which one comes out first. But I'll be playing Project Epoch most likely because that's the thing I think is close to what I would like to have. But the truth is that if Blizzard comes out with a Classic Plus and it's actually like decent, they are more likely to bring a good version and a I would say lasting version with like obviously a future. So I'm talking about that. Now, what is Classic Plus to me? Well, Classic Plus changes a lot of stuff to me. So they change the leveling a bit. They change the raids, PvE and dungeons, endgame dungeons. They change the PvP. They change the class designs, not designs, but like they do class changes. Let's like talk like that. Like even if it's minimal, it's still a class change. I would say across all classes, not just specific ones, but I would say every single class changes. And also realm, like what sort of realm should it be? Should it be a seasonal one, progression one? Should it be a lasting one? Should it be like every year a new fresh, for example? That's like the differences between realms. Now I'm going to talk first about leveling because that's a thing that you're going to be in touch first around your Classic Plus. I have written a lot of the bullet points I wanted to talk, but I will be precising also while I'm talking about it. So the leveling, in my opinion, should not be artificially sped up. What I'm talking about is they don't need to like slap a ×2 to leveling, for example, or a 150% more XP. That should not happen. What should happen is that they add more quests and more zones that makes it just simply faster anyways, because it is more efficient. So it means that Elwyn Forest, you don't need to go to Dunmorrow to get level 12. You can get level 12 by just doing Elwyn Forest's quests, for example. In Westfall, you can start at level 12 and you could finish at level 18. You don't need to go to Darkshore, excuse me, to be able to level 18, right? That's like how I see. They need to add more quests that are like making sense, but also more hubs inside of the zones. And I would say also new zones. That's something I would like to see from a Classic Plus. If it's not at release, that's another question, but it should definitely happen that there is like a leveling zone that is introduced for leveling purpose, which again enhances the replayability. What do I mean is that you can do 1 to 60 the first time on Classic Plus, but if they come out with a new zone, like for example Turtle House sometimes does with, for example, Gilneas, and that's a level 40 zone, like level 40 to level 50 zone. I'm giving an example. I'm not giving like Turtle WoW example, but I'm giving an example. Then it gives more reasons to level a second character to go through that zone, for example. To do the quests, to do the lore, to do maybe the dungeon inside that zone. If they do come out with a new dungeon, I would say 3 months down the line, then it gives you another reason to be leveling another character to do that dungeon that is current with new gear and maybe new quests to do inside that dungeon. And what I would like to see is new dungeons needed for leveling, and ideally coming to a moment where you have a new dungeon every 10 levels. So it means that you get a level 10 dungeon, level 12, level 13 dungeon in like Alliance, for example, which is, for example, RFC in like Horde side. You get RFC, which you can do it at level 13, for example. You can start at it at level 13. You don't have that as Alliance, so you could introduce a new dungeon that is fitting that gap. So you have like an introductory dungeon that is before den mines. You could also add like a new dungeon at level 20. Same for a horde. You don't really have a dungeon inside of Orgrimmar. Well, introduce a dungeon in Orgrimmar like Stockades, like Prison of Orgrimmar or something like that. You could do that, or Prison of Undercity, or whatever you want to introduce. You could do a level 30 dungeon, like maybe a SM extended dungeon, like something you can do SM. You have like the 4 wings, then you have a 5th wing, for example, or like a level 40, you get like another dungeon, maybe inside of I don't know, maybe 10,000 needles, or inside of Feralas, for example, like a new dungeon that is there fitting for the leveling experience. I would do that for every set, like every 10 levels, and obviously you will get maybe an end game dungeon that is going to be introduced, which they already did with SOD, so they could literally use that asset to already have like something new like down the line. So that is something I would like to see. Raids, PvE, and dungeons. What they could do, so that we're talking about like end game stuff, we're talking about like dungeons, like grind, and obviously I really am liking the coins system from SOD. I think it's a great idea to keep dungeons relevant throughout your end game process. It means that you have like a world tour thing, people are always running dungeons, people are even like doing the coins run for gold because they can like swap the coins into like materials. I personally really like that because it gives you also more deterministic grinds, that you can also have a preventive bad luck protection, I would say. So for example, if you like farming tier 0, which is the dungeon tier, and the pieces don't drop, well, at least if you put like 80 coins, for example, you get the chest. Or you put 80 coins, so you get the shoulders. So you have something that you can always grind for and like look forward to, even if you're like very unlucky on the drops. I would also say make tier 0.5, like tier 0.5, so the dungeon tier upgraded, available sooner, and I would even like nerf it a bit to be on a lower power level than tier 1, but I would also nerf the gold requirement. So it means that you can actually have your tier 0 and then you grind your tier point, like 0.5 to be able to do pre-raid, I would say, and to get like an upgrade with tier 1. I would like to see that as an eventuality down the road, and obviously having sets that are making sense for your spec. So you have a set for Feral, a set for Balance Druid, a set for Resto Druid, and I would even say a set for tanks. Like tank druids, like bear druids. That's something I would like to see. Also, I would add extra mechanics to the raids, not like super devastating mechanics, but I would say extra mechanics that fits for a lower count raid, I would say. And why do I say lower count? I would like to scale down the 40 man to a 25 man, for example, or a flex raid. So you could start the raid at 25 and it will be scaled down to a 25 man. And if the mechanics are done right, it means that it is not easier or harder if you do it with a 40 man or a 25 man. It is just different. It is like going to be different mechanics and different things that you need to look forward to. I would also add a new gear, but it should not be vertical. It should be like with side grades. It means that if you come in a bit later down the line on the Progression Classic Plus server, you don't have like such a vertical treadmill to go for. You don't need to grind a tier 5, for example. What I would like to see is a tier 1.5, a tier 2.5, a tier 3.5. And I would say that the gear, the power level of the gear should not be drastically higher. It should be an upgrade if you're like doing Karazhan, for example, if they introduce Karazhan for some reason. Or they introduce Scarlet Echolette, for example, the new Scarlet Raid from SOD. It is an upgrade from like Nangstrama's gear, but not like a crazy upgrade where it becomes like you're doing 3 times the DPS of what you're supposed to do. That's something that they need to realize, that power level, the power creep, should not be that like vertical. It should be like horizontal, it should be different, it should be fresh. You want to do that, you want to achieve that, but not something like it breaks the game or breaks the progression or the whole system around World of Warcraft, in my opinion. Keep making new dungeons as well. So while the Classic Plus is live and done, and it's like on the road, please keep on making dungeons that for endgame that can help to get to a pre-raid biz. You don't need to make it like crazy where the dungeons are like as good as an MC raid, but make it for sure very good to be able to grind. So that would be the ideas I would have for raids, PvE, and dungeons. I would also, since I already discussed the leveling, now let's talk a bit about PvP. Now again, those changes are like not the only changes I would like to see, but again, I think what I'm proposing is like a fine line where they could really work towards that without like breaking their neck. Now PvP, I already said that multiple times. I think like rank 14 gear is like one big piece of set that you have that kind of overrides everything from raiding like tier 1, tier 2, and then gets all scaled by next ramas. I would like to see seasonal gear where you have season 1 gear that is on par with MC, but it's better for PvP than PvE. So instead of having hit on the gear, you should definitely have something that is about stamina, about survivability, about crit maybe. It should not be like that you're wanting to get PvP pieces to be able to do PvE. Now it's going to be a good pre-raid biz for sure, because if you have no gear, it's always going to be better to have those raw stats, but it's not supposed to be like the thing that is going to replace any PvE gear once you have done MC. So if you want to get the best tier 1, like the best phase 1 gear, you need to do MC if you want to have the best phase 1 gear for PvE. But if you want to do PvP, you want to be the best at PvP, you want to have PvP gear, you don't want to have PvE gear. And it should also not outscale the raid tier. So it means that season 1 should be equal to MC, season 2 should be equal to BWL, season 3 should be equal to AQ, whatever you want to call it. That it should be like that. So it means that you also have like every season a new thing to grind for. So if you are like a PvP diehard, you want to be able to grind that gear and you want to use that gear, well, you have every season or every phase or whatever you want to call it, or every patch, let's call it like that instead of phases, let's call it about patches. You have something to look forward to, and it doesn't drastically like change the power level that hard as well. And the previous tier, so the previous season PvP gear, for example, from let's say patch 1, which is MC, the PvP gear from that, if you're like patch 2, is like discounted, so you could buy it very quickly, so you are up to speed, so you're not like getting destroyed by people that are like at season 2 or season 3 gear and you have season 0 because you basically are like naked. You will get the gear easier to get like the season 1 gear by a huge discount, so you can actually buy it very quickly, so you are actually up to speed. That's how I would do. The currency would be honor. So the ranking system, you throw it at the garbage bin. It's only like rank 14 is like has it only on vanilla. So there is a clear reason why it's gone. It's not like because it's good. There is no incomprehension there. It just seems like if you want to reward the players, it should not only be about time spent. So seasonal gear should be specialized for PvP, should be obtainable from previous seasons with a discount, and should always be like an upgrade on the horizon every patch that you're going to come out. I prefer the ranking system from TBC with arenas and ranking point, not ranking points, but like arena rating, and I would say conquest from Cataclysm and onwards. I would like implement that, but I understand if like ranking and rated is not like the philosophy of vanilla, so I would just do, for example, PvP gear that is just like grindable if you're like doing PvP. It could be time spent, because again, if you're losing too much, you can still gain that those items. But if you are like with the optic of like rewarding the players, you should be rewarding the speed at what you get the gear by just winning. If you win more, you get the gear way faster, and the curve towards that gear is way easier to get. You could also do like a power thing where if the better you are, the better the gear becomes. But again, it depends on how you want to see vanilla and classic plus. If you really want to have like some sort of a rated thing or not. Personally, I'm not against rated because I'm competitive in nature, so I like to see like, oh, this guy is really good, or oh, this guy is probably a beginner or hasn't really tried anything yet in PvP. That's something I like to see from players, but I understand like maybe Classic Plus is not really that environment that is, for example, the same for TBC onwards or retail. I would for sure reward wins over time commitment. So the more you win, you should be able to get way more honor than like just like AFK in AV, in my opinion. New BGs, so I would say rework AV even to not be a PVE fest. I would say new BGs, so the BGs like that were in Ajara, for example, that they never came out. You can introduce new capture the flag maps. You can introduce new domination maps. Maybe a new 40 versus 40 map, but should be different from AV and Isles Conquest and whatnot. I don't want that. I just want like pure chaotic, like a Terran Mill versus Soft Shore kind of thing. 2v2 arenas, maybe 3v3. That's hard to do to balance in anyways, but I would still like introduce that. And maybe a solo queue, maybe a 1v1 queue. That could be very fun to do. And maybe specific gear towards arenas. It should not be like drastically better than the other one, but it should be maybe a bit different, or like design wise, it should be like popping out like cosmetic. You are an arena player. Wow, you did really well, for example. World PvP territorial warfare. I would like to see like something where you have a PvP zone, where you have rewards, you have bragging rights. It is Alliance versus Horde, and you want to have the fortress to get like rewards or like discounts on specific things, for example. I would like to see that one day. There's multiple places on Azeroth that you can actually have it. You don't need to do new assets. But it just I'd like to see that. I'm a sucker for like world versus world content from, for example, Guild Wars 2. If you are like someone that is like from way back, Dark Age of Camelot, like that's the thing I really like about like open world warfare. There is also Warhammer Online, for example, that did that very well. I would like to see that in Classic Plus. I know it's a very big ask. I don't think they're going to ever do that because they never did that for retail eyes as well. Like the closest that they had was Warfronts from BFA, and that was PvE. I don't know why they didn't do for PvP, but anyways, they dropped the ball on that. I would also say extra rewards specifically for PvP, and could even be special mounts. So it doesn't need specifically to be power related, but it could be like cosmetic related, right? I would like to see that as well. Now, talking about class changes, it should be minimal changes. It should not be like denaturalize the nature of those classes. It should not be full-on reworks. But changes needs to be significant enough to see a difference with vanilla. So for example, I am on my balance rate right now on Classic. Making balance rates be after 5 casts should be gone. It should be able to be efficient with the costs to the same extent that the Frost Mage is. Add a bit of hit in the talent tree. For example, on the talent trees for balance rate, there is no hit. It would be nice to have like a 6% hit somewhere. Like I would say here, for example, Moonglow could be baked into 9% reduced mana cost and 6% more hit. That would help immensely with the DPS, because that's one of the classes, like hybrid classes have difficulties with hit because they don't have any hit. Like the only hybrid class that has hit, caster wise, is Shadow Priest, if I'm not mistaken. They get 10%, but they have other issues. You have like specific things that you could help like classes to be efficient or better in PvE. Add new spells or spells from TBC, maximum maybe Wrath, but needs to be skilled for the vanilla world. So for example, your balance rate, don't add Starfall to the game because it's too busted for a vanilla world. I would not do that. But for example, Hurricane should not be like having a 1-minute CD. It should have maybe like the same CD as, let's say, Blizzard, which is no CD. It should be able to be good in PvE, AoE situations, as other classes are efficient enough to do PvE, AoE stuff. I think most of the things that are problematic for classes are not really the DPS itself, it is the capacity to be able to do or contribute in AoE situations. For example, why is Retribution Paladin so meh or very bad in like vanilla is because they have no AoE capacities. Like, no, they cannot do anything. Even Feral Druid is only purely single target, so you prefer to just pick a rogue because it has Blade Flurry. A Balance Druid has no AoE capacity except like dotting everything for a 12-second duration, which you never is a never-ending spam, and it does no damage and is not really mana efficient. And your Hurricane is on a 1-minute CD. So why take a Balance Druid? You could just take a mage that has Blizzard, that has Cone of Cold, that has Arcane Explosion. Like, that is the balancing that kind of requires to be if you want to be desirable in dungeons or in raids. Like, you don't really take a Balance Druid in dungeons because you know you're going to be gimped in AoE situations. You're not going to be good at mana, and you will always be drinking. But if you balance it right enough, it doesn't do way more damage than a Frostmage. I don't ask that, but at least it is a fair alternative to a mage in those dungeons, for example. I would also want active balancing. Active balancing is something that should happen. It should be that you can look forward to your class be saved by Blizzard, pretty much. It doesn't need to be like complete home runs. That should not be happening. But if you are seeing that Balance Druid is like still last DPS and has no utility in raids and has like no place in raids, then add stuff to Balance Druid to be able to be desirable in raids. It doesn't need to be doing warrior damage, but it doesn't need to be doing less damage than a tank, in my opinion. What else? Realms. Let's talk about realms really quickly. It should be persistent. I already said that. It should be persistent and progressive version of the game. It should be a whole version of the game that you know it's always going to get something added to, not like gone from like one day to another. You can add new expansions even. Like if you want to justify new zones, or like not new zones, but like because again I think that should happen every single time, but like new stuff, like something completely new. You can even add an expansion box for 10 euros, I don't care, and people will buy it most likely if you want to justify the actual energy you're putting into Classic Plus. But it should still feel classic. It should be still on Azeroth. It should not be a different world. It should not be Outlands. It should not be going to Northrend. It should be staying on like Azeroth. You need to make Azeroth bigger and not smaller. Like the world should not be feeling small. It should be feeling big and consistent and persistent. No more seasonal stuff with complete wipes. So don't make a Classic Plus where it only lasts for 1 year and then it wipes and you have like a fresh again. I don't think it's like the idea for me. Classic Plus should be like a whole different version. It should be Retail 2.0. Not like Retail the game, but I would say like it should be seen as Retail, like as a standalone game that progresses with time. That's what I'm talking about, a Retail 2.0. Not like the gameplay or the design or whatever. I'm talking about like this is the flagship game for Blizzard, like how it is flagship for Overwatch or flagship for Hearthstone, for example. That it should be something like that. It should be that you have Retail that is progressing with different expansions, and then you have Classic Plus that is progression with different expansions, and it should be going like this, instead of like having only Retail as like a progressive thing, and then you have Classic always doing like this, reset. That should not happen, in my opinion. If you want to have like a retain and grow players and being the best next thing, like for example OSRS is, then it should be something like that. I would say also active changes and added content every 3 to 6 months with small and big patches. that people are always going to return on if they have like stopped the game for a reason or another. They always have something to look forward to every 3 months. For example, new zone, new dungeons, new raids, new tiers, new something, right? Give something new every single time, and that's going to feel the most Classic Plus to me. So that is the end of the video. Those are all the suggestions I have, like brainstormed a bit. It didn't take too much because again, like those ideas like are completely running in my head every single time. I feel like if they do it right, it would like literally give no reasons to play private server. Right now, the only reason why I would play private server is because there is no supply to my demand. My demand is Classic Plus, and there is completely no supply towards that for Blizzard, so I cannot like sit around and wait. For me, it just is like, okay, I want that. Where can I find it? Well, private servers, right? But once like Blizzard is doing the work and brings it out and brings it alive and like actually like calls it, for me it should be called Classic Plus. If it is not called Classic Plus, title of Classic Plus, then I don't know, it feels like they're really dropping the ball for me. I think they should really call it Classic Plus, should be teased as a Classic Plus, should be trailered as Classic Plus. They should like stick their neck out. Like I know that by calling Classic Plus, they get a target on their back because obviously everyone is going to look at them and every move they're doing. But it means also that they have accountability and they will perform because they have a target on their back. If they're call it like something like season of X or season of whatever, then again they're like saying, oh, we do that, but hold up, it's not Classic Plus. We'll just call it season of whatever, and you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But it's not Classic Plus, so don't worry. We still have something on our mind. No, I don't think it should be like that. It should be really called Classic Plus, as of whatever, the game, literally. Like if you want to have a progressive classic feeling of the game, like OSRS is, then that's the realm for you. If you want to progress into classic, if you want to play classic, there's still era for that. And if you want to play retail, there is retail. But if you want to progress and you want to see classic grow into more classic with more things, that's a Classic Plus server for you. It should be called like that. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. It has been a long video, but I wanted to talk about that, every single point I'm making. Hopefully you agree with the things that I've said. Now, you don't need to agree with me. So if you don't agree with me, please let me know in the comment section below. Please, for the love of God, stop saying in my videos, because that, for me, you're not right. Stop saying to me that if you want to have a true Classic Plus, you need to go to private servers. Because for me, that's speculation. You don't know what Blizzard is going to do with Classic Plus. For me, the mistakes they done is because they didn't talk about Classic Plus at all since I don't know when. They didn't tease anything. They didn't trailer anything. The Classic Plus is still not out. That's their mistake. But you cannot blame SOD and say SOD was Classic Plus and it was bad, so it will be bad. No, SOD was not Classic Plus. They never said it was Classic Plus. That's why I'm saying, like, it should be labeled as Classic Plus so they have accountability and you can actually say, okay, this is Classic Plus, this is not for me, but whatever, this is their Classic Plus, right? Right now we don't have an idea of what a Classic Plus would be from Blizzard. That's why I'm like giving ideas, because again, once the game is out, there is no real ideas I can give and bring, because it is all out, you know. But there is no point in actually commenting like, play Project Epoch or Total WoW if you want Classic Plus, because Blizzard will never do a Classic Plus, because that's not the point of the video, right? I will be playing Project Epoch because there is no alternative to it. There is nothing from Blizzard. But if Blizzard comes out with their Classic Plus, truth is the future and the whole content and the whole popularity will fall into the hands of Blizzard. Everyone from Project Epoch and from Turtle WoW and from other versions of Classic Plus that you can find is going to gravitate around Blizzard, because it was also the case in 2019. Every private server for vanilla died because 2019 live, right? Once 2019 Classic came out, it was the most popular thing, like gaming wise. You had like millions of people watching on YouTube, even like thousands of players watching on Twitch, and nobody was really playing private servers back in the day anymore. 2019, except like the Ascension ones and like Wrath from Warmain, but like you need to realize that the popular thing that will happen is Blizzard Classic Plus. What you see it right now on Project Epoch and Turtle WoW is just a fraction of what is possible. And yes, it brings eyes and brings the awareness towards Classic Plus, and that's why I'm also playing Classic Plus on private servers. But the truth is that that small percentage of people playing private servers about Classic Plus, they are not going to stay once Classic Plus comes out from Blizzard, because a lot of people that like left Turtle WoW for SOD did that when SOD came out. So, and then they came back once SOD died, or once SOD failed their phases, they came back to Turtle WoW, but don't realize how many people actually left Turtle WoW for SOD once SOD was out. I'm just saying that. But anyways, thank you for watching the video, really appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye.